Hey guys, what's up? It's Katie and I'm back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video. And today we are going to be going over the Dev Diary Part 3. Yes, Part 3 of the roadmap, which is Champions of the Contest. So let's jump into it real quick. So it's basically Kabam Ian and Kabam Kamish talking about champions, about revamps to the crystals, balancing of champions, buffing champions, and how they're going to make Sigstones more readily available. So, excuse me, let's get into this. Let's just jump right into it. So, champion design vision. The way we go about making champions is very different in 2020 than it was in 2015, but we're still trying to do the same thing we always have, make fun, unique, and interesting champions that feel true to their characters. We've seen improvements in our processes at almost every stage of champion creation. New technology and tools allow us to build a lot more, a lot faster, while the requirements for a champion in 2015 were very different from those in 2020. The core goals, are still the same. So, what does this mean to me? So I'm kind of like confused here because they talk about wanting to make champions more true to their character, but Tigra was nothing like her actual character. So she fell short for me. So I feel like if they're going to do this, Kabam really needs to up in on their comics. That's kind of my opinion on it. Why do I want this champion? Whether it's a specific path boss in Act 6 or a champ node combo in Alliance 4, there are fights that are really only addressed by a few champions in the current roster. We're working closer than ever before with the rest of Mcoc teams, especially quests and alliances, to identify any fights we expect to be particularly challenging. While we've always done this, one area where we've grown a lot recently is working with our community team in the CCP to make sure our internal evaluation matches our players' experience. Finally, we've also got some cool new tech and toys coming down the pipe. Every summoner has different wants and needs for their roster. We're actively sourcing feedback on what fights abilities need more better counters and targeting champions to help make them valuable to your roster. New tech is coming. Stay tuned for the future post. So for me, choosing a champion is all about utility. Will this champion be able to counter several aspects of the game? Now, I'm not someone who likes to see just big yellow numbers. Don't get me wrong, they're a nice added bonus, but I don't really like just big yellow numbers or champions that fit a specific mold. I like one who can counter a variety of things with their toolkit. Now, Kabam talks about overcoming any challenge with the right team. If they move away, which they seem to be doing, from champion-specific fights and paths, that is easily accomplished. Now, it's good that they're taking our feedback about champions, but how far will this go? Only time will tell. If they stay with the moving away from champion-specific fights and paths, that's going to be a very good thing. But if they fall back into old habits of those, I think it can kind of go down the tubes for them. Whoops. Choice doesn't have to mean complexity. The goal should be maximum depth for minimum complexity, but that's easier said than done. Things like pre-fight and cross-fight abilities allow for decisions to be made without the time pressure and extra distraction of being mid-fight. I love pre-fight abilities. Pre-fight abilities are really nice because they allow your champion to be, you allow for a customizable champion, right? So like Guillotine 2099 has excellent pre-fight abilities. More stuff in a kit isn't always better. That's very true. In fact, it's usually worse. Keep it focused, impactful, and easy to understand. We're moving more of the decision making outside of fights so it's less stressful and doesn't have to be memorized. Okay, so complicated champions with little to show, i.e. Surfer, aren't worth the effort for me. Complicated champions who can stand the test of time, though, like Ghost, are. I want to say that Kabam is moving away from this, but again, I come back to Tigra because the way that she is, they don't seem to be doing it. Maybe time will tell once we've seen, more new champs, but honestly, I'm not holding my breath for it. Now, I also wonder if there's anything in the works to rework some of these older complicated champs like Silver Surfer, like Nova, or like Annihilus, but we'll have to wait and see if Kabam actually reworks some of these champions to make them less complicated for the output that they have. Interactive but predictable. Is that Kabam's motto? There are a lot of older champions and abilities which were built with a more how can I do this attitude and less of a how should I do this attitude. We're going to start investing more time and effort in going back to clean up these older champion interactions while trying to be as consistent and precise with our language as possible. Consistency in how new abilities are worded and interact across different champions, buffs, etc. Investing in cleaning up older inconsistent abilities that don't follow the rules. All right, look, Kabam, I gotta say one thing. You make me insane with your grammar, spelling, and phrasing in the champion abilities. Like, right, just no. Now, I don't envy the team who's going through all of these champions and descriptions and fixing inconsistent ability interactions, because let's face it, that's a lot to go through. Now, I'm curious to see which champions don't fit this and which ones they're going to change and how they're going to change them. So does this mean that Ghost Rider is finally going to be Incinerate immune and Iceman is finally going to be Cold Snap immune? This one is really vague. So I wish there was more to this, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Okay, so now balancing, which is probably the portion of the roadmap that people are most excited about. So as rosters continue to grow, we want to make sure that every champion has its place in the meta. But balance means both directions, up and down. Otherwise, we run a serious risk of just increasing champion power forever, which in turn creates a situation where it's very tempting to create content for only the latest and greatest champions, leaving the rest of the roster on the bench. Looking to add value to underperforming champions, Champion update Strike Team to focus just on this. Nerfs will occasionally be necessary. Primary goal is to buff up the bottom end of the roster before any potential nerfs. So I wanna point this out, right? Balance means both directions, up and down. Otherwise, we run a serious risk of just increasing champion power forever, which in turn creates a situation where it's very tempting to create content for the only latest and greatest champions, leaving the rest of the roster on the bench. That's not entirely correct. If a champion comes out and is too OP, okay, I can understand that. But there needs to be a time frame on when that champion can be balanced down. Kabam shouldn't make the same mistake of She-Hulk again. A time frame to balance down a champion should be no more than 3 months. Anything after that, and the champion stays as is. So 3 months after release is the limit. Anything after that, that's how the champion is. But by the sounds of this, it looks like some of your OP champs, like Corvus, like Quake, might be getting nerfed, and the excuse could be, well, we made Hulkbuster better. And I really don't like this. I think if a champion is out, it's past a certain window, leave the champion as is. Okay, so another thing I think you guys are going to be excited about is the buff roadmap, So they carved out a strike team who will focus entirely on champion tune-ups. What this means in English is that they're going through the whole roster and putting all the champs into 4 categories. Balance, champions that are good enough for now or better. Tune-up, no ability changes, just tuning up numbers like Torch and Sentry. Update, numbers and minor ability changes, but largely the same kit. So think Red Hulk and Carnage. And then Overhaul, a whole new kit. So that's your Hulkbuster and Colossus, Spider-Gwen, that sort of thing. Now, I like how Kabam has organized this into 4 categories because this makes my OCD super happy. And then they also kind of put out the build rotation. So build 1 is the overhaul, build 2 is a tune-up, build 3 is an update, and then they go back to 1 and repeat. So this is how you're gonna get it. So I do like that they have this out so we know what to expect when. So the first full rotation will be build 1, which is the overhaul, and that will be in September. And we'll get into that in a minute. And then build 2 is the tune-up, which is Punisher 2099. So because it's a tune-up, that means they're going to be, doing some numbers adjusting. So basically, Punisher 2099, he's going to be hitting harder. Thank goodness. And then we've got updates, which are Gambit and Falcon. And I'm interested to see how these 2 are going to be. Hopefully, Falcon will no longer be the dollar store blade, right? Right. All right, so I mentioned something about an overhaul, and I'm sure you guys already know who this is. It's been teased. But the Magnetos, yes, both Magnetos are getting a complete overhaul. So Red Magneto will focus his villainous side hunting enemy metal champions, and Magneto Marvel Now will focus his redemptive side enhancing metal teammates. They're both coming out with the build at the end of August and no beta for either. And honestly, I was not expecting both Magnetos to get overhauled, and this makes me really excited. I just hope Kabam didn't bite off more than they could chew with this one in revamping both champions. Now, I don't necessarily like that there's not a beta because they can't take our feedback, but To be honest, I'm not sure if Kabam actually takes our feedback from the beta. I mean, if you look at Hulkbuster, he's the exact same as he was in the beta. So I really think these champion betas are more or less to find bugs and not give our feedback. Now, with that being said, though, I do like how they are making red mags villainous and white mags pretty much heroic, right? I can't wait to see how they're going to buff both of these champions. Now, I do have a video on my channel about how I would buff red Magneto, so maybe they've incorporated some of my ideas. Fingers crossed. Kabam, did you? Let me know. Send me a little, hey, we got you. Okay, so they also teased about another champion coming, right? So here it is, gang. Is Professor X coming? There's a reason that we're working aggressively to have Magneto ready for the end of August. While Magneto and Magneto Marvel now already represent two polar opposites, there is an even more iconic duo that Magneto is a part of, and which mutant can pose a threat to these two icons. Now, I feel like this is a tease for Professor X. I can't really think of any other champion this would be except for him, and I would imagine he would have some pretty banging abilities, but maybe not. Surfer doesn't, and he's a Herald of Galactus. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I'm pretty excited for this, so hopefully we will get Professor X. Okay, so now let's take a look at completing the roster. So the amount of randomness, the amount of agency or choice a player has can change, but we're never going to completely remove randomness from the game. But when it comes to the randomness around champions, there is definitely room for improvement. So we already know that we've gotten the 5-star Wolverine, right? At the time of this video, Wolverine was offered up to iOS users for $30 for a week. So we already have him, but we are finally getting a 5-star Scarlet Witch. And I gotta say, it's about time we got her and Wolvie. So that being said, though, the fact that Wolverine was only offered to iOS users for $30 and not necessarily a guarantee, right? It's a chance. It's a chance at him. Hopefully that makes me think that hopefully he'll be added soon to the pool so that everyone can have a fair shake at him. Who knows? I could be wrong. That's my wishful thinking. Now, as for Scarlet Witch, I'm sure she'll be added, though, the same way that Wolvie was. Now, I do want to say one thing. I feel like the Scarlet Witch edition has been relatively new because when I asked Kabam at Comic-Con last year, you know, hey, are we getting a Scarlet Witch or are we getting a Scarlet Witch anytime soon? The flat out answer was no. There was no hesitation. There was no tease, no hints, not even a, maybe down the road. It was no. So I feel like this is a really recent addition and I'm kind of curious as to why. So now let's talk about a crystal update. So they're going to reduce overall inflation of hero pools with more selective crystals. So dual class basic hero crystals, 10,000 shards, 5-star hero crystal for uncollected and cavalier summoners, 1 crystal with 2 classes, mutant and skill, or science and mystic, or cosmic and tech. 1 crystal will appear one day and then it will be replaced by the second, and so on and so forth. And this is targeted for late July and early August. So finally, we're getting a better way to target champions. And I have to be honest, I was not expecting it to only cost 10,000 shards, excuse me. I thought it would cost as much as a featured, so this makes me really happy. And Kabam actually almost used my class crystal idea, but they made it 2 classes instead of 1. So I do really like this, and I do think it will help the player base in regards to targeting champions a lot easier. So they are also improving the 5- and 6-star featured hero crystals, improve selection of champions within the crystals, so a miss does not sting as much. And we see that already, right? The new featured 5-star actually isn't really all that bad. It's actually pretty good. And I gotta be honest, updating the feature pool is a must, especially when the new champions are honestly not that great. So some older, better champions should definitely be in there so you're not stuck, pulling a Miles over and over and over again. Because yeah, that happened to me when I was going for the thing in the featured. So I think this is a really good step in the right direction. Okay, so now I want to talk about this wish crystal, because this is going to be what looks like a cav crystal. And basically what you're going to do here is you're going to pick 5 champions from each class, right? And so that kind of makes it customizable to you. And they're saying that it's the ability to more closely meet the wants of individual players. It's targeted at late 2020, early 2021. An important thing to note is that one crystal by itself isn't going to be game changing. We're not looking to make one single type of crystal the only one of you care about in the contest. So this is the thing, is this is going to be a cav crystal, and I like the concept behind this. Now, I still feel like they should have removed the 3 stars from the Cavalier crystals instead. I think that would have gone over much better than this quote unquote wish crystal, and here's why. Choosing 5 champs from each class of the crystals seems like it would be something fun and enticing, but it really doesn't do it for me, because I still have the likelihood of pulling the 3-star version out of one of the 30 champs that I chose. So honestly, this to me seems like it's going to be a huge disappointment. And I gotta be honest, I don't think this is coming this year. I don't see this coming till sometime next year. And finally, let's talk about signature stones. The first step with an update is 2 solo events. This is planned for sometime in late August or early September. We're also looking at other modes where additional sig stones would fit. As for 6-star sig stones, we're not ready to make any comments just yet, which that makes me kind of really sad. But they are waiting to see how the 5-star sig stones go over. So the first step rather is updated solo events with updated events, progression tiers, a new solo crystal, and rewards. So uncollected, you get 1 5-star sig stone crystal per 22-hour event, and Cavalier, you get 1 5-star sig stone crystal and 1 5-star sig stone generic per 22-hour event. This is really kind of vague to me. This whole the per 22-hour event, right? So is this 1 per milestone, or is it 1 for the whole event, so as in the final milestone? Because if it's the latter, this is a joke, and they really didn't make the signature stones any more readily available than what they are now, if you think about it. I feel like this could have been detailed out a little bit better, but hopefully in, late August, early September, we'll actually see what this means. If it's good, as in it's at every milestone, or if it's a joke, as in it's the last milestone. But we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, guys, that's all that I got. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all of the updates in here about the champions, about, the balancing? What do you think of the balancing down of potential champions, of the buff roadmap? How do you think Falcon and Gambit are going to be? And let's talk about Magneto. How do you think they're going to separate the 2 Magnetos from each other? And do you think Professor X is actually coming to the contest? What do you think of the new way to target champions and the quote-unquote wish crystal? And how do you think these signature stones are actually going to be in the 22-hour event? Let me know in the comments below, and let's discuss. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you guys liked what you saw and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and hit me up in the Discord chat. Thanks, guys. Bye.